let's judge these banned cards and see if they're worthy of being pulled off the list or not. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Can This Card Be Unbanned? So, like always, we'll be talking about the comments from the last video. So Tenebrae 17 talked about the last week's cards, and let's go ahead and start with the one about Isilde. The limited design for Warriors. As I mentioned, Warriors being one of the biggest types of monsters, and the only real fix would be, if they were going to do it, is to archetype specify limit it. So yeah. In terms of Imperial Order, after reading the card, I think the only change it could receive is to bump it from continuous to a one-time use card. It'd be a normal track card. So yeah. No, there'd be no cost of life points, but it would be a one-time use card, and it would the effect would end at the end of the turn. So it wouldn't be able to be used during like multiple turns back to back. So yeah. Though it could still be a problem, but I think there was a trap card that actually could be played to negate negate and destroy other trap cards. I think it was 7 Tools of the Bandit, if I recall correctly. Though I don't know how many people would actually slot in 7 Tools of the Bandit if Imperial Order were to come back. Heavy Storm. Yeah. Similar to Giant Trunade, where you had the ability to put up floodgates during the opponent's turn to stop them from playing, then destroy them during your... Oh, yeah, that too. But at this time, there aren't enough, so right now, Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade are just sitting on the bench until that happens. So the second to last one, the Electromite. Yeah, as I mentioned in my video before, there aren't many Pendulum decks that are being ran, so Electromite wouldn't really be as wild as it used to be during its heyday, apart from Melodious. And one would be being very generous. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Grinder Golem, yeah, it's a small price to pay, especially when you already get the 2 tokens to get that Link monster. And as far as Appaloosa is concerned, it's not too terribly strong, especially if you can use a magic card. I mean, not a magic card. If you can use oh crap, what was that? What am I thinking? Oh yeah, not Called by the Grave. Dark Ruler No More. Duh. Because if I remember correctly, since Appaloosa doesn't continuously check for how many what its link rating is, from what I recall, since Appaloosa does not keep checking how many I guess you could call it charges it still has left, then at the end of the turn, Appaloosa would just still be at 0 attack after Dark Ruler No More's effect has gone through. At least by what I recall seeing in a video not too long ago, comparing cards like Grand Maju as Aiza? Yeah. As it continues to check the banish zone for the amount of cards it has, whereas Appaloosa doesn't. So, yeah. And yeah, I didn't play during Firewall Dragon. I don't remember too much about Borolo Dragon. I think I played a little during that, but like I said, I don't remember much. But regardless, Grinder Golem would have to have a once per turn, and we did agree on that one, so... Anyways, with that all out of the way, today's cards, let us go into that, starting with Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard. So Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard, is a level 4 Earth Fairy effect monster. And its effect is, if a card is removed from the field, or if a card is sent from the hand or deck to your opponent's graveyard, except during the damage step, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls, special summon this card from your hand, then return that monster to the hand. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or their entire deck if less than 5. Then, if Exchange of the Spirit is in your graveyard, you can set one trap from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Kelbeck the Ancient Vanguard once per turn. So, Kelbeck, when it came out, it wasn't used because of that effect. It was actually used for something completely different. And what it was used for was tier limit. At least by what I found out through my search. And the tier limit archetype its big thing is sending cards from the main deck to the graveyard. It's kind of similar to the Lightsworn, which I don't know why I didn't mention the Lightsworn, but yeah, tier limit's focused on sending cards from the main deck to the graveyard, and that's why Kelbeck was effectively banned right after, what was it, the first slot. Shortly after it got added to the game, it ended up getting, what was it, limited to 1 and then banned. So, yeah. Now, as far as this card is concerned, I highly doubt it could come back, what with any archetype being able to do that. I think Lightsworn is still being played, but not too often. Tier limit isn't as strong as it used to be, but it's still, I think it's still being played. So yeah, for the time being, Kelbeck, unless there aren't any cards, archetypes doing what, facilitates Kelbeck, no. Now, as far as an errata, I don't know. I don't think it could. I don't know what kind of a errata could facilitate Kelbeck to come back, if at all. So we're just going to leave it at no for the time being until, like, I understand now what kind of errata it could receive, other than, well, you can't really archetype it because, like, the others have different names. So yeah, other than maybe, say, angel, fairy type monsters, but who knows. So yes. Now the next card for today, let's talk about Kaiser Colosseum. So Kaiser Colosseum is a continuous magic card, and its effect is if there is one or more monsters on the field of the controller of this card, his or her opponent cannot place a monster on the field if his or her number of monsters would exceed the number of monsters that are on the field of this card's controller. The cards that are already on the field before this card's activation are unaffected by this effect. Okay, so there's two main reasons. Well, there was one big one, which was confusion in the card text. Effectively, the card was your opponent cannot have more monsters than you have on the field after this card gets activated. That was pretty much the main gist of Kaiser Colosseum, apart from anything that's already on the field. So, yes. And the other reason was Bujin. This gets mentioned like a couple times, I think, from when I remember talking about it. And Bujin, their main gimmick, once per turn during your... Okay, so Bujin Yamato. Once per turn during your end phase, you can add one Bujin monster from your deck to your hand, then send one card from your hand to the graveyard. It seems like it's a different archetypal version of the wrestler archetype that was started in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So, control cannot be... But yeah, that was the main thing that got Kaiser Colosseum banned, was Bujin. Now, in terms of this card in particular, I believe it really could come back, but you would have to get an errata to make it less confusing. And it would probably be along the lines of, if there is more than one or more monsters on the field of the controller of this card, the opponent cannot place more monsters than the controller of this card. You just get rid of some lines of dialogue and text, and you got yourself less confusing card overall. But beyond that, it's one of the old school, not really old school, but it's one of the earlier Floodgate cards, but it wasn't as what people claimed as bad as Mystic Mine. So yeah, if it were to come back with the errata, I can see it being at 1 right now. With the errata, without the errata, I can see it maybe coming back at 1. Maybe. So yeah. Though I think I just... Whatever. Whatever. Oh, man. Anyways, yeah, that is... It's not as terrible of a card, especially when it has no inherent protection and it can be outed really easily by monster effects and card effects. So, yeah. The next card for today is Nightmare Goblin. So Nightmare Goblin is a Link to Wind Fiend Link monster with the requirement of 2 monsters with different names. If this card is Link summoned during your turn, you can discard 1 card. If this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. Also, during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 monster from your hand to your zone this card points to, in addition to your normal summon set. You can only apply the effect of Nightmare Goblin once per turn. Neither player can target co-linked monsters you control with card effects. Well, first off, that was a mouthful. So the main problem with Nightmare Goblin is apparently very clear just by reading it. Well, apart from the amount of words, the co-link effect and it having inherent protection with co-link. And the other thing I'm going to mention is the generic requirement for a monster with double protection. Well, with protection. So that's weird, but whatever. Could this card come back? It would have to have like some massive errata, but I'm not sure what kind of an errata apart from archetype restricting it. Now, in terms of the Nightmare archetype, how many cards are in this set? Let's see. I don't think there's too many. Main deck is 3. Yeah, there's only 8 monsters. So, yeah. Even archetype restricting it wouldn't get it unbanned, considering no one would play it. So, yeah, I'm not sure what could be done to this card to make it unbanned, honestly. So, with that stated, no. Just no. Okay, so with that said, let's move on to the last one, which is Nightmare Mermaid. Nightmare Mermaid is a Link 1 Water Fiend Link monster with the requirement of 1 Nightmare monster, except Nightmare Mermaid. Right. If this card is Link summoned, you can discard 1 card. Special summon 1 Nightmare monster from your deck. Then, if this card was co-linked when this effect was activated, you can draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Nightmare Mermaid once per turn. Monsters on the field lose 1,000 attack and defense, unless they are co-linked. Okay, so Nightmare Mermaid was banned once again because of the co-link effect. It effectively had inherent protection, but to its own effect of the stat reduction. And even though it was had archetype exclusiveness of the requirement, as I just mentioned, the archetype is incredibly small. It's probably the smallest archetype in the entire game, to be honest, with only 9 cards, I think it was. The other problem was, I believe, Nightmare Ibli. So yeah. In terms of this card, I don't know if there could be a really interesting way to errata it so that it could come back. With it in its normal form, I doubt it. Then again, like the only used cards of the Nightmare archetype is Unicorn and Phoenix, I believe. So yeah. What does you do? What do you do? Oh. Okay. No, okay. So yeah, the only ones that are used as often as they are is Phoenix and God damn, I just said it too. Phoenix and Unicorn. So yeah. Could it come back? I doubt it. Someone mentioned on one of the posts that I saw that Ibli would have to be dealt with for either one of these cards to come back. So, yeah, we'll just leave it at no. And with that, it's going to do it for me today. Next time we will kick off the next 4 cards. So until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. And until then, goodbye.